Toss-up number 1, Social Studies. In this battle, an attack through the Losheen Gap was stopped at Elsenborn Ridge. St. Vith was a key objective for one side in this battle that included the Malmedy Massacre. George Patton broke a siege of Bastogne after Anthony MacAuliffe rejected a demand to surrender by responding "nuts." For 10 points, name this battle in the Ardennes Forest, the last German offensive in the West during World War II. Toss-up number 2, Science. The fluid continuity equation describes the quantity's conservation. The two-body problem can be simplified using this quantity's reduced form. Baron Ayotte Vosch demonstrated the equivalence of its inertial and gravitational forms. The gravitational force between two objects is proportional to their values for this quantity. Linear momentum equals velocity times, for 10 points, what quantity measured in kilograms? Toss-up number 3, Fine Arts. With Fred Archer, this artist developed a method of determining the optimal amount of exposure, called the zone system. He depicted a baton twirler in the Manzanar camp in one work. Other works of his show the moon rising above the New Mexico town of Hernandez and above Half Dome. In 1962, photograph shows a winter sunrise at El Capitan. For 10 points, name this photographer known for images of Yosemite National Park. Toss-up number 4, Math. Pencil and paper ready. Donna needs to find the product that results when 209 is multiplied by 191. She can either just multiply the numbers together or realize that 209 and 191 are, respectively, the sum and difference of 200 and 9, and apply the difference of two squares. Use any method to compute, for 10 points, what resulting product when 209 is multiplied by 191. Toss-up number 5, Science. One type of this condition is characterized by the presence of Auer rods and is treated with all trans-retinoic acid, a form of vitamin A. Children with Down syndrome often develop its acute myeloid type. It can result from proliferation of immature B or T cells in the bone marrow or blood. For 10 points, give this collective name for cancers that result in high counts of white blood cells.
Go.
Toss-up number 6, Literature. John Berryman wrote a homage to this poet, who spoke of how her burning flesh and sweat did boil, in For Deliverance from a Fever. This poet wrote that the world no longer let me love, my hope and treasures lie above, in Verses upon the Burning of Our House. She wrote the poem to my dear and loving husband. For 10 points, the collection The Tenth Muse made what woman the first published poet in America? Toss-up number 7, Science. The IAC project is using X-ray crystallography to measure this value in an accuracy of less than 20 parts per billion. Jean Perron estimated it using Brownian motion. Joseph Leschmidt was the first to approximate this number, which equals the Faraday constant divided by the charge on an electron. For 10 points, identify this number, named for an Italian, defined as the number of atoms in a mole. Toss-up number 8, social studies. In this event, participants congregate on the Jemarat Bridge and engage in the stoning of the devil. Certain participants use areas called mikat to change into ihram garb during this event. Other rituals include the ascension of Mount Arafat and the Tawaf, which involves walking counterclockwise 7 times around the Kaaba. For 10 points, name this fifth pillar of Islam, a pilgrimage to Mecca. Toss-up number 9, literature. This writer based the characters of Linnell Verney and Lord Raymond in her novel The Last Man on fellow romantic authors. Her most famous character dies on Captain Walton's ship after chasing his creation to the Arctic. That character is a scientist who marries Elizabeth Lavenza and is called a modern Prometheus. For 10 points, name this daughter of Mary Wollstonecraft and wife of Percy Bysshe, who wrote Frankenstein. Toss-up number 10, literature. He wrote of an object like a buttercup, save that it's green and wooden, an asphodel, that greeny flower. This author of Pictures from Bruegel wrote an epic about a New Jersey town called Paterson. He also wrote poems about an object glazed with rainwater and about eating plums from an icebox. For 10 points, name this physician and poet of This Is Just to Say and The Red Wheelbarrow. Toss-up number 11, social studies. In this region, the reclaimed land of the Cotai connects the islands of Taipa and Koloane. The Shi River flows to its west, and its mainland peninsula connects via a 600-foot wide isthmus to the rest of the Guangdong province. This region lies on the Pearl River estuary, some 40 miles southwest of Hong Kong. For 10 points, name this special administrative region of China, a former colony of Portugal. Toss-up number 12, fine arts. In one painting by this artist, a man in a green robe extends his right hand toward a celestial globe. This artist of The Astronomer showed 2 women doing chores in The Little Street, one of his exterior scenes of his Riverside hometown. His use of natural ultramarine can be seen in the blue and yellow turban worn by the subject of Girl with a Pearl Earring. For 10 points, name this Dutch artist of View of Delft. Toss-up number 13, science. The folk classification system uses QFR diagrams to describe one variety of these rocks. The variety's properties include textural maturity and grain size. Basins are conductive to the lithification and deposition process that forms this class of rocks, which are found on the Earth's surface in layers or strata. Limestone and sandstone are varieties of, for 10 points, what type of rocks formed as particles settle. Toss-up number 14, literature. In one story, this man's presence in the court of King Kokolus is revealed when he uses an ant to put a string through a spiral shell. This man, who killed his nephew Perdix and facilitated Pasiphae's mating with the Cretan bull, told his son to stay away from the sun after giving him wings bound with wax. For 10 points, name this father of Icarus and clever craftsman from Greek myth who designed the labyrinth. Toss-up number 15, social studies. This king won it at Ivry and Arques. This constructor of the Pont Neuf across the River Seine was assassinated while his carriage was stopped in traffic by Francois Ravaillac. After this king's wedding to Margaret Valois ended in St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, he converted to Catholicism and claimed Paris is well worth a mass. For 10 points, name this king who issued the Edict of Nantes and succeeded Henry III. Toss-up number 16, Fine Arts. The second act of this opera opens with one character contemplating the righteousness of God's will in Gottwelk Dukel here. This opera features a canonic quartet about love, Mir ist so wunderbar. Its composer wrote 4 different overtures for this opera. The most popular is known as Leonore No. 3. For 10 points, Leonore rescues her husband Florestan from prison in What Only Opera by Ludwig van Beethoven. Toss-up number 17, Math. Pencil and paper ready. Don needs to find the sum of the total numbers of faces, edges, and vertices of a regular octahedron. He knows that an octahedron has 8 triangular faces, so each face has 3 edges, each shared by 2 faces. Each face also has 3 vertices, each shared by 4 faces. By finding the number of edges and vertices and then summing those values with 8 faces, he computes, for 10 points, what integer. Toss-up number 18, Science. These animals of family Sphaeridae include the scalloped, smooth, and white-finned species. Stereoscopic smell may be one advantage of its best-known feature, termed a cephalofoil. That feature also contains widely spaced electroreceptive organs and provides 360-degree vision, useful for hunting prey such as squid and stingrays. For 10 points, name this type of shark with a flat, wide, tool-shaped head. Toss-up number 19, Math. The natural logarithm of this function applied to n can be approximated by subtracting n from quantity n natural log n in Stirling's formula. In the denominator of the nth term of a Taylor polynomial, it is applied to n, and it also calculates the number of permutations of a set of n objects. For 10 points, an exclamation point symbolizes what operation where an integer is multiplied by all smaller positive integers. Toss-up number 20, Social Studies. This act was amended in 1898 by a piece of legislation named by Charles Curtis that affected the people of Oklahoma. Theodore Roosevelt described this act as a mighty pulverizing engine to break up the tribal mass. This act, which was named for a Massachusetts senator, provided 160 acres of land to each head of a household. For 10 points, name this 1887 act meant to integrate Native Americans into American society. Toss-up number 21, Miscellaneous. Val works in a dry goods store in a Tennessee Williams play about this man descending. He lives in a Brazilian favela in a Marcel Camus film about a black version of him. Rainer Maria Rilke wrote 5 sonnets to him, while an infernal gallop and a can-can satirize Gluck in an Offenbach opera about this figure in the underworld. For 10 points, name this Greek musician who looked back while leading Eurydice from Hades. Toss-up number 22, math. For an exponential distribution, this value equals the natural log of 2 over the rate parameter. This term also denotes a Shavian ending on the midpoint of a triangle side. The three of these in a triangle cross at the centroid, and the statistical one is the second quartile or 50th percentile. As many values are less than as greater than for 10 points, what value that in a normal distribution equals the mean?
Toss-up 23, literature. In this novel, Miss Smith tells the protagonist that she doesn't care what Sebeco's daughter went. Father Vincent finds the lawyer, Mr. Carmichael, who defends a man in this novel for God, meaning without charge. In this work, the Reverend Umsimangu gives up his possessions and Absalom shoots Arthur Jarvis before being hanged. For 10 points, name this work about Stephen Khumalo by South African author Alan Paton.
Toss-up number 24, math. Pencil and paper ready. Alex tosses two fair six-sided dice and needs to know the probability that the absolute value of their difference will be 1. He realizes that if the first die is a 1 or a 6, there is only one possibility for the second die, but other values for the first die provide two possibilities for the second die. For 10 points, what is the probability that the difference of the die will be 1?